As promised, we are going back to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan for the championship ceremonies. Once again, let's bring in Don Whitman and Don Duguid.
Thank you, Brian. And I guess in Quebec City, they're quite excited with that victory today by the Nordiques, the final game in Quebec City prior to the big week of Rendezvous 87. And I'm looking forward, as Brian is, to the two games involving the National Hockey League and the Soviet Union. Here at the Prince Albert Golf and Curling Club, they have the trophies on the ice surface, and they're preparing to make the presentations, the concluding ceremonies. This was the concluding shot by Jim Sullivan, the one that won it for New Brunswick, a 6-4 triumph over Wayne Madaw of Ontario for this 1987 Canadian Junior Men's Curling Championship. And the closing ceremonies now, the traditional parade of pipers leading the curlers onto the ice surface. This format introduced here in Prince Albert. Simultaneous competition for the junior men's and junior women's championships. And according to all reports, run off with hardly a hitch in proceedings during the week. And talking to the curlers, both men and women, they enjoyed the co-ed atmosphere that prevailed during the week.
Well, I think it's just a great format, Don. You know, that we've got so many national championships now, and ice time is getting at a premium, and television time is getting at a premium. It's just an ideal setup. Two championships run at the same time. It's just great.
Well, a very disappointed Jennifer Lamont, the third for the Manitoba rink. They say it came so close, and similar feelings for the Wayne Madaw foursome from Ontario in the men's championship. Similarities in both games. The score tied 4-4 going into the final end, and the winning sides both faced with a takeout for their final shot.
Exactly. You know, and you can feel for the runners up. They curl all year to get here. It comes down the last rock, and it's a delicate shot, and you lose the Canadian Championship. It's very frustrating. Let me tell you, Jill Ursel and the Manitoba team, they'll be back. Karen Purdy, unfortunately, too old next year, but the three of them, I'm sure, will get back together next year, pick up somebody else, and they'll be in the hunt again.
Well, they might not be back at the Pepsi Junior Women's Competition, but they might get a shot at the Scott Tournament of Hearts in years to come. 23 rinks being paraded onto the playing surface. As we said, only Northern Ontario not represented in the junior women's competition. Ontario with 2 rinks in junior men's play, both the Ontario Crew and Northern Ontario. And a group here from Kappa's Casing. And you see a fan there from the Yukon holding that banner proudly. A little bit of a disappointment for the Saskatchewan people who were here in attendance watching play, and that they did not get a rink into either of the semifinals or finals. But it was still a great week, a very entertaining week, and a very successful week with over 18,000 spectators taking in the action. Well, the man who is going to MC these closing ceremonies is Prince Albert's Man of the Year. Right now, let me introduce Jim
ladies
Scarroll.
And gentlemen, and welcome to the closing ceremonies of the 1987 Canadian Pepsi Junior Championships. I would now like to present the 1987 Pepsi Junior Champions representing the provinces of British Columbia and New Brunswick. It is my pleasure to introduce the 1987 Pepsi Junior Women's Champions. From Kelowna, Oliver, British Columbia, skip Julie Sutton. Third, Judy Wood. Second, Susanati. Lead, Marla Geiger.
Ladies first with the British Columbia rink, Julie Sutton, Judy Wood, Susanati, and Marla Geiger receiving the Pepsi trophy. And the presentation of the junior men's Pepsi-Cola trophy that has been around since 1958 to Jim Sullivan, Charlie Sullivan, Craig Burgess, and Danny Alderman from New Brunswick.
Thank you, Ray. It is my pleasure to introduce the 1987 Pepsi Junior Men's Champions from Fredericton, New Brunswick. Jim Sullivan. Third, Charlie Sullivan. Second, Craig Burgess. Lead, Dan Alderman. And coach, David Sullivan.
And of course, as you said, Don, there is the possibility of a women's junior world championship upcoming. The junior men, of course, will go on to represent Canada at the Uniroyal World Junior Championship next year in Fusen, West Germany. The 1986 Canadian Junior Men's Champion, the Hugh McFadden rink of the Assiniboine Memorial Curling Club in Winnipeg, will be this year's Canadian representative at the Uniroyal World Junior taking place in Victoria. The first time since 1970 that New Brunswick has won the Pepsi Junior Men's Championship. It's back-to-back triumphs for British Columbia in the women's competition. And Jerry Musica presenting the individual medals. And the all-star team has been announced, and 3 members of this New Brunswick squad were chosen all-stars. Skip Jim Sullivan, third Charlie Sullivan, second Craig Burgess, the other all-star from Alberta, the lead Tim Krassman. And the junior women's all-star team consists of Jill Ursel of Manitoba as the lead, Sheila Calcutt of Saskatchewan as the second, Heather Olson of Saskatchewan as the all-star third, and Julie Sutton of British Columbia is the skip of the women's all-star team. The Junior Women's Sportsmanship Award to Julie Sutton of BC, and the Ken Watson Memorial Award presented to the men goes to James McCarthy of Prince Edward Island. So those are the individual awards that are handed out in conjunction with this Pepsi Junior Men's and Women's Championship. So for 1987, British Columbia, for the second straight year, claims the women's title. The rink from Oliver, Kelowna, Julie Sutton, Judy Wood, Susanati, and Marla Geiger. And the men's crown for the first time since 1970 going to the New Brunswick rink of Jim Sullivan, Charlie Sullivan, Craig Burgess, and Danny Alderman. That concludes the first of our many events of curling coverage. Now back to Sports Weekend and Brian Williams.